Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. I have the privilege and great pleasure to introduce to you Joel Smirnoff, the multi-talented Joel Smirnoff. Primarily as a violinist and conductor, was also president of the Cleveland Institute of Music until 2016 and former chair of the violin department of the Juilliard School until 2008. He was a member of the Juilliard Quartet, leading the ensemble between 1997 and 2009. Mr. Smirnov was a member of the Boston Symphony Orchestra for 6 years in 1980s and head of string studies at the Tanglewood Music Center during the late 90s. Mr. Smirnov has appeared as a conductor with many orchestras within the US, Europe, and Asia, with an amazingly wide repertoire, most notably a remarkable recording of Elliott Carter's Piano Concerto, conducting, with the Basel Sinfonietta and Charles Rosen as pianist. Mr. Smirnov has also worked in the field of jazz, performing violin improvisations frequently with singer Tony Bennett and other major jazz artists, having contributed two improvised solos to the Grammy-winning CD Tony Bennett Sings Ellington. Hot and cool. Mr. Smirnov received the 2011 Lifetime Grammy Award for his many recordings with the Juilliard String Quartet and the 2011 Alumni Professional Achievement Award from the University of Chicago, his alma mater. Here he is. Please. Hello, Joel. How are you?
Thank you so much, Annie, for having me. It's a delight to see you looking well. I'm okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are
Yeah,
okay. I'm delighted that you have agreed to join us, and I hope you will enjoy the performance of our students and not
I
just.
know I will. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody. Delighted to be here and very grateful to Professor Snockford for inviting me. So looking forward to these performances. I think we're hearing the Stravinsky Divertimento first, of course, which is not heard that often. And of course, very interesting piece, which was written way after, it was as he became involved with Balanchine, actually. So it's a wonderful, it's quite balletic, and of course, it's inspired by Tchaikovsky. So, performers, how are you?
Good.
Everybody okay? So, tell me your names.
My name is Kumi Maxwell.
Kumi?
My name is Joel Munday.
Oh, you're another Joel.
I
Okay,
am.
nice to meet you, Joel. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to
Okay,
meet you.
so, you know, I think it would be nice to hear the piece through if you feel like it. What is your pleasure? I'd be happy to hear it. But it's so funny. There, do you have rehearsal numbers? Because I don't have any in my score.
There are no measure numbers.
No numbers at all.
Nothing at all, and no rehearsal letters or anything.
Nothing.
So how do you guys rehearse? How do you do this?
No.
We just use the short
What's your secret? Okay.
A lot of
Okay.
finding.
Well, we may have to depend on Kumi and where we are on the page and system in the piano when we talk about the piece. Okay. Will that work for you?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Everybody okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. Why don't you start then and let's see if we can get through the whole piece. It takes, I guess, 17 minutes or so. Or are you playing all of the
Yes.
movements or not?
We're playing the Sinfonia, the Dances Suisses, and then we're skipping to the
Okay. That's great.
without variation and the coda. But there is a we recorded it previously.
Oh, that's right. You recorded. Okay. Very good. Let's listen to it then.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Enjoyed very much. So let's, you know, the of course the last pas de deux, this is pure humor, obviously, you know. And you want to have you heard Stravinsky speak? Actually, have you heard interviews with him ever?
Yeah.
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 They always ask him a serious question, and he always answers very as though he's making a joke all the time. And this piece is a little bit. It wants to stay in a humorous and light mode, even though it's inspired by Tchaikovsky. So, and I don't think you have to play the I know his tempo marking is very, very fast for the coda, but I don't think it has to be quite so fast. Boom, 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 da, da, dun, dun, da, da, as long as you get the rhythmic ostinato, I mean, the nice rhythmic feeling about it. And why don't you try the coda a little bit slower, so the 16ths don't have to be slower than the actual tempo. I think that would be good, because
Yeah.
and Joel, I would try to play some longer notes here. I think the quarters that don't have dots, you know, da da dee da rum, and make them very clearly different from the eighth notes that he writes. He's not going to give you a dot here so much, but he's got short eighth notes, short 16th notes, and then he's got full quarter notes. Okay,
Yeah.
give it a try from the start, from the coda. A little bit slower. Yeah, so he's got this, it's this funny marking. He says molto crescendo and then a piano subito. So it's got to sound like it's building and then suddenly comes back. So you can come in very softly. Boom, boom.
Yes.
Yeah, and his barring is always backwards, unfortunately, the same way it is in the fiddle concerto.
What is backwards? Sorry.
The way he bars the pieces. You know, the last movement of the fiddle concerto is bop, bop, the coda. Bop, bop, bop. It's in 2/4, but he still bars it in a 3/8. So there's a little bit of the sadist about that, you know. So, and this is also backwards. So it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the 16s want da 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 dun dun da di. You're making them a little too pretty. You know, try to make the 16th on the downbeat da as short as you can with an almost active da 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 da. Yeah, you don't have to vibrate them particularly.
Yeah.
You know, and then yum bumpy bumpy da. So you kind of have to move between when you think you're dancing and when you think you're singing here a little bit. But this is pure dance. Dori, dori, okay, a little shorter. Give it a try. But you know, it's still piano. It's gonna end very, very big, but this should be leggero still.
Okay. Yes.
Internalized and not yet as bombastic as it's going to be. You know, the joke here, I don't know, have you played any ballet pas de deux? Have you gone to the ballet and seen Swan Lake with the 32 fouettes in the famous coda of their pas de deux? You know about that? Where the female has to stand and do what they call fouettes, because I was a dancer, believe it or not, in another life. Bum 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 beep bum 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 beep, and of course what happens is they get tired and they just start moving across the stage, which they're not supposed to do. So it's a bit of a circus. He's kind of showing that actually some of ballet is quite it's a bit of a circus sometimes. So but keep it nice and quiet for the moment until where does he give you your first high dynamic? He gets you to mezzo at the chorus. Yeah, yeah. But keep those long bum bum beam bum beam bum rup, and then a short eighth note. So we want to. He likes to contrast long notes with short notes, and this goes way back to the Rite of Spring. You know, in the Premier Pratique. Yeah, where has he yeah. So we want some long notes. Yeah. Yeah, but you know something? Do me a favor. Try it still a little bit slower. Bum 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 da 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 da. Just so you plan for those 16th notes you're going to have, so they're actually fairly playable.
Yes.
And this will make it a little, believe it or not, a little more charming. There'll be a little more opportunity for nuance, you know. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So this is better, I think. Yeah. This tempo is a little saner. Yeah. Can you hear me? Because is it my computer or my internet? But it's getting a little bit frozen sometimes.
I think it's freezing. Yeah, I'm sorry. It seems to be freezing a bit.
Yeah, I'm freezing.
No, we're freezing.
Okay, so keep this tempo and nice and broad when you get to the forte, you know. And then when he gets to these funny, he says piano subito for it's kind of odd. He's got sforzando piano subito for you, Joel, right? But the piano continues playing kind of mezzo forte, or well, he says marcato meno ma meno, so he wants it to be a little bit less. You know, when you get to the octaves with the eighth note, with where the bottom is only an eighth note. I think those are little accents. Do 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 di. You know, where do you want to play from? And also, when you have this at the bottom of is it Kumi? The pianist is yeah. So the end of this page 40, dotty 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 dotty. That wants to be a kind of crescendo through. You have from the F sharp, Joe. In other words, the last three bars on page 40, Kumi. Dotty 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 dotty. That should be a crescendo for 4 bars. He doesn't mark it, but I would come back to let's say mezzo forte, and then bring it up so that when you get to the 3/4 bars, the second 3/4 bar, it's a real forte, and he writes forte for the piano there for some reason. Okay. Where do you want to play from?
Maybe.
You want to play from the forte of the piece when Joel has his first forte? Yum bom bim bom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and there you with the triplets, you should go right to the end and go crescendo all the way to the end if you can.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
and no slowing down. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Keep the tempo nice and no accelerando. Let's do from where should we do from? Kumi, you got a place for us? You want to do it?
Yes.
You can do that. Yeah. See if you can, Joel, da da dee da ra. Make no breaks at all if you can with those quarter notes, right up to the eighth note.
Okay.
Da da dee da rum, right up to it. You know. That was start at the same place, and you can gamble a little more with those triplets. Don't worry about it, and then make sure you return to it a little bit maestoso on the other side of it, and so it's a little bit of accelerando, then you tempo primo.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
Can you just give us the piano subito?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. You know these little if you wanted to play them ricochet, we really should throw the bow at the string for those for the poco piano. And if you want that action, you could do a ricochet 4 down 1 up, and then 4 bars later, then you have to play it as it comes. But we should throw the bow at the string.
Yes.
For that, try that once.
Should we go from the 40 to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's it. Very good. Very good. I enjoy very much. This funny little Ponticello, so Ordinario and then back to Ponticello. The man had he was very a playful character. So now let's go back to uh, the slow movement
Yes.
to the adagio. One thing I want to say to you, Joel, something which I have been speaking with my students. Can you hear me? You okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And loud enough for you? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, have you read any of Stravinsky's books? By the way, he's very articulate. One of the better composers in terms of his education, his use of language. He's a smart guy. His English is quite beautiful. His written English.
I think I
He
read
talks about not
one of his
particularly liking the
books
string.
several years ago.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my brother bought me a book called Dialogues and a Diary, and it was a lot of interviews with him, and then of course he has his little autobiography. He didn't. There was something about string instruments that bothered him, and he says it at some point. What it is that strings can sustain without breathing. In other words, for him, there's something very unnatural. The fact we go back and forth and back and forth, and we never have to take a breath. He doesn't like it. And so, the string pieces we have are obviously our Apollo for the string orchestra, and the 3 pieces for string quartet. Have you played them? By the way, they're wonderful.
No, I haven't. Not yet.
One of them is a portrait of a very famous clown, actually. So the humor always creeps in, but. One thing that I say to my students very often is we have to think a little more like wind players, not only in the sense that we have to figure out where the breaths are, where they would naturally be, but also a wind player is going to basically tongue every note that they play, but different. Each one will be a kind of different tongue. Some will be a D, some will be a, barely tongued, but there'll be a lot of D's and T's, at least we start the note. And for you, I would love you to make a decision about the fronts of notes a little more, and that makes life a lot easier for you. In other words, the ability to kind of get the sound going right away with a little bit of a consonant. So in my own teaching these days, I'm talking a lot about various kinds of consonants, because in language we have, if we're going to sound like a singer, and we want to sound like a singer much of the time, singers do use consonants. In other words, unless they're singing a vocalese. And so,
yes,
as string players, we get so hung up with bow changes and so hung up with the line, and we forget about the necessity with the small muscles. By the way, I do it by turning the arm. Basically, I teach something very simple-minded. Okay, it's kind of dumb, but it's true. And what it is that with the small muscles of the wrist and the left hand, we only have 3 movements we can make. Basically, we have the sideways motion. I keep moving in the wrong direction here. Where's my hand? There it is. Okay. So the sideways motion, which we use for the bow change, which we can use 2 different ways. We can use it opposite from the arm, for the bow change, where the hand stays, right? And the bow continually moves. Okay. But then we can also do same direction, where we move the hand in the direction of the arm for throwing a stroke, like what you just did in the ricochet. Okay, that's really one motion. Then we have the turning of the wrist, the turning of the arm, rather. And this is a big, if you look at Heifetz play the Prokofiev March, for instance, you'll see the bow coming off the string without him lifting the arm. He doesn't lift it. He's getting the bow often on the string by turning the arm, turning it. And then we have verticality, where we're just kind of hitting the fiddle. That's it. That's all we got. 3 motions. One of them is used 2 different ways. We combine those motions, all 3 of them, to make all the strokes that we want to get. And this is what I have always played the way I've played and the way I've thought about fiddle playing, and it's pretty simple. So it's how we can decide whether we want to catch a note or whether we want to come down with bring down the bow moving, and how much we want to develop that collé catch, and whether we want to be moving in the same direction or an opposite direction for a bow change with the sideways motion. For you, I would love to see you think a little more about the consonants at the front of notes. In this last coda, don don din don 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 din don don don, and of course that's all the piano can do. All they can do is a consonant. It's a rather limited early synthesizer. But they and Kumi does great with it. But da 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 da. A wind player would naturally give that a fairly hard tongue on the front. So we should try to be able to do something comparable. Dori, dori, da 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 dori, because I enjoy your playing very much, and I love the fact that the way in which you give us the duration of the note. That's a terrific thing. But I think if you can give us the front sometime and give us this. There are only really two shapes in music, by the way. Where's my hand? Got this shape, and then you got this shape, and then we put them together and we get swell, or we can do this and get something like that. So now we have four shapes, but singers pretty much want to grow the sound a lot of the time because it's what's comfortable for them, and it's true of us too. And you do that very nicely. I enjoy it very much. I would like to see a few more da 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 da.
Yes.
Have you listened to Fritz Kreisler play?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what he does all the time. That's kind of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So why don't you actually go back to the coda for again? Let's go back to the end and see if da 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 and even see if you can catch a little bit the front of the note to get a nice T the way an oboe would. See if you can do it.
Okay.
Then you won't have to work so hard. Yeah, good. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's very good. I want you to do it again. And I want you to try to do it with the small muscles. Dotty, dotty, dun, 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 dotty, dotty,
Right.
as much as you can. As much as you can. It's very hard to see this. When we look at the videos of Heifetz, and if you look at Milstein's playing, for instance, very hard to see the bow change at the frog. It's almost not, it's so tiny. It's there, but it's very compact,
Yes.
So, but the small muscles are actually the key to your power, because what you want to do is kind of ring a bell with your sound, do 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 do, a little more of the time, and then you'll have, because you already have a beautiful growing sound, which is most important, by the way. So that's great. Okay, try one more time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. That's a big difference. For the piano parts of the softer parts of this, you can get yourself a little more towards the center of the middle of the bow, a little bit, and try to bring the bow down from turning the arm. Did you get that?
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I'm sorry. I have because I'm in New York where I'm not usually at this time because my mother's in the hospital. So unfortunately, I'm working with a computer I don't normally work with. But so play a moment. Let's go back to the adagio. And what I would say is, you know, I think you should play this. Have you ever played it? Have you heard or listened to the Tchaikovsky ballet solos ever? The concertmasters have some fantastic solos. The most famous one being the White Swan, of course.
Yes.
In the unfortunate key of G flat major. It's hard to know why he wrote it in G flat major, but it is in G flat major. I played a lot of those in my time, and I think you should just play this very warmly, um, like a Tchaikovsky movement. You know, like any of the great Tchaikovsky slow pieces, and get as much as you can a long line, if you can do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, try from the beginning. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And so you now have a little cadenza. It starts out, in other words, as a kind of introduction, and then where he writes sonoro, that's where the melody really begins, obviously. So, and he wants you to, and you kind of did that. That's where the sound suddenly warms up, right?
Yes.
It's a funny thing. You actually play your own introduction there, and then you play sonoro. Do one more time. That was very beautiful, and and then this is a fantastic movement. So why don't you play it again with this in mind? So it's going to play it as you would the slow movement of the fiddle concerto or the, you know, the meditation, any of those things. Yeah.
Yes.
Once you get to sonoro, do one more time. These can be a little more suddenly energized. Move the bow a little faster on your very first 30-second.
Okay.
So it's a surprise to us. Just take from the third bar, Kumi.
It's got to go from, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. No, I didn't say anything. You know, those Fs. those high Fs. Da, da, dee, da, 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 dee, da. There's where I would do a note shape that has more on the front of it. Dee, da, 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 dee, da, 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 dee, da, da, da. That's where I would turn it around from a growing sound to a tee,
Right.
da, 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 dee, da, da, da. Try that one time. Just do from the gliss up into the cadenza. Okay. Very good. Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, listen, that's all we got time for on the Stravinsky, but you guys sound terrific. It's lovely, lovely playing.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
very
of
much for
course.
giving your time.
Yeah. So for me, this idea of if you and Heifetz and Milstein both do this. They're both they make clear decisions about where they want to put a consonant. A great example of that is if you listen to the first movement of the Bruch Second Concerto. Do you know that one? It's one of Heifetz's crowning moments.
Not as well.
It's a piece that Leopold Auer used to teach, and there is an Auer edition of it. And if you listen to, you should take your music and mark where he puts a pure consonant on the front of a nice strong consonant. It's very interesting, and it's very clearly well organized and decided that way. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Great. Lovely to hear you. Bravo. Bravo, Kumi.
Thank you. Oh, whoops.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? And your name is?
Lily.
Lily. Great. Nice to meet you.
Lily, yeah.
Okay, so you want to play the piece through? This is Sonatensatz Scherzo, yes?
Yeah, there's a recording.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's listen to the recording. Okay, very good. You know, it's so interesting to me. This piece, of course, which is all about Joachim in some way. Brahms was of composers. He was a person who was fairly anti-military. He did not write marches in general, and there are a couple of pieces where military music creeps its way in, and very purposefully. And this is one of them. You know, the other one is the Tragic Overture, which is Opus 81. I think when he talks about the tragic, everyone's always wondered what tragedy he was referring to. I think he's talking about the existence of war in general, and that's his most military, his really only military piece. You know, this is as opposed to Schubert and Mahler and Liszt, and who enjoyed, not that they enjoyed it, but they certainly documented. They were more willing to document the militarization of society during the 19th century. Um, so this is a piece that wants to sound like it's being played to some extent in a martial quality, and it could be ba, 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 bom, da, 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 da. Of course, the piano quintet in its scherzo has a little bit of that, huh? Right, Kumi, isn't that true? In the there's some dom beam bom beam ba 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 bom bom the piano quintet. Very very to this, obviously. Yeah. So it happens, and these composers necessarily advocate war, but they document the fact that, and it's men who make the war, at least certainly in those days, that it's part of the landscape, the societal landscape. So I know this piece is played awfully fast sometimes. I don't know that he really meant for that. I wouldn't be afraid to give it to take it a little bit slower, so that it can have a little more power. A little more power. You want to, the challenge of this piece for me always, you have to sing in fortissimo, and here we do have bar numbers, so to around 32. It's thing you get a lot of bow for that, and not to get stuck in the lower half of the bow lily. So we can get some air in the sound. Otherwise, it's not really going to sound as dolce as you would like it to be. But it's a strange idea, this impassioned fortissimo dolce, Start at the beginning, and let's see if we can get a little more power out of this thing. I meant to say this to you. So now, I know you want to make the swells, but don't come down so much for the front of the swell. In other words, we're not at fortissimo yet, right? We're only one forte, which we want to clarify what's one forte, what's two forte. It's very important. So make your first G after that. Let's hear the front of it, and then make the swell. You don't need to come back for this. Here's what I'm hearing a little bit. Yeah, here's what I'm hearing a little bit. The dotted on the second half of the bar each time. Maybe this little two. Let it ring like a bell. They're getting, some of them are shortened, should not be really. And sometimes they're in the front of the bar. See if you can make a break. Don't make a break. See if you can do it. So that those notes are quite resonant. Give it a try. Do, do, do. Yeah, these accents a little too slow. But in a military fashion, it wants to be extremely regular. That so that the pickup arrives exactly where it's supposed to, and then these accents, every one of them powerful. And but I'm looking more for the accent. It's it's hard to make an accent work at a high dynamic. It's easier at the softer dynamic because high dynamic it's going to be harder to play accent. You got to without coming back too much, but still hear the accent. So see if you can get a little speed on the front of the stroke for that. Would be good. Okay, try one more time. Yeah. So, one thing, don't be afraid of getting away from the frog and having to come back. Okay. Because an extra it would be okay on that up bow if you have to bring the bow. So when you're in bar, in bar 14, 15, but I wouldn't compress the eighth note. It would sound pretty good on the trumpet, and trumpeters are used to this. This is their potatoes, This is what they eat for breakfast. This stuff. Is for some reason for us, partly because of the up and down bow, it's not so easy. This military figure. Okay. Yeah, let's do it one more time. Go to the second ending. I like the accents this time. I like them very much. And of course, he doesn't get you. Well, let's see. I see. So we want to be clear that we hit fortissimo where he marks it, which is pick up to 19, huh? Right? That's where he kind of develops and gives us a big cadence, a long line, and then a resolving cadence. So make sure that we're only one. Oh no, it's not true. The Kumi has fortissimo earlier on. Yeah, but he doesn't mark it for the fiddle. Why is that? You know what I would do, Kumi? I would come back after you play those two fanfares in E flat major. Come back a little bit. And then when you both hit fortissimo, pick up to 19. That would be a good place. Make sense? Give it a try.
Yeah.
And then go second ending. Okay, so here's the challenge. And I said this to Joel, who preceded you. We need to get the sound happening right away. So we need a little bit of a consonant on the front of some of these notes, even though we're singing. We can't go. There ain't no time. So see if you can get your sound. Small consonants, not big, nothing big, but enough to get the sound. Hear the note change, the note start each time. That was good. Why don't you give us the bar before the second ending, Kumi? Okay, good. Yeah, and how warm can the left hand and vibrant can the left hand be through all? That was good, but the left hand it's a funny thing because in fortissimo we need to be expending a lot of energy to sing. It's a funny thing. This is a very unusual little line for Brahms. Yeah, it's a real concerto moment in a way. You have to play as though you're playing with orchestra. Try one more time, and just warm it up suddenly with the left hand. Okay, yeah, that was very good. I enjoyed very much. Now you're done at piano. So warm up the B flats, the tops of the swells. Modulation to C major. Okay, bravo. Do one more time, and it's easier in C major. We're lucky because then he gets to C major. It's a much easier key for us. You realize, of course, and this is something that I do speak a lot with my students about because it influences air intonation. There are some keys which are just not resonant on the fiddle. When you start this out in A flat major, A flat is not a very resonant key for the fiddle, even though Beethoven wrote the slow movement of the seventh sonata beautifully in A flat major. But these composers choose these keys for the strange timbre of the fiddle in some of the flat keys. And of course, all of the composers wrote in D major, concertos in D major for a very specific reason, which is that the open strings of the violin are the 1, the 4, the 5, and the 2 in D major. So we're home free. In other words, we're going to sound resonant in the piece. And Elgar, of course, and Bartok went with B minor or B major, which is relatively okay. But this A flat and A flat major moment, you did great. Now the C major will be easier. Okay, do it more time. Yeah, I would sing this a bit more. I would sing this. Sing it a bit more. Warm it up a little more, but in piano.
Yeah.
That was very good. You want to give her a few bars, Kumi? A couple of bars
Yeah, sure.
in E major. Yeah, but do what he says. Yeah. I think the swell for me happens too slowly. In other words, it's it's very hard to tell what a composer is asking for when they give you this, because the question is how fast is this? It's got to be passionate, and passion is like it's too slow. It should happen more at the end of the bar, and more at the front of the bar on the other side of the swell. So a little bit more sudden, and the top when you go up the chromatic, be more on the front of the note, and come down quickly. See if you can do it. So and that will make it a little more. Of course, you realize that Kumi has something different. I don't know if you know, but she has she has a long swell as opposed to your short swell. So they're quite different actually. So don't be influenced by her in this particular case. Okay. Yeah, I would make these a little more the appoggiatura shape. And don't feel because he wrote four to the measure for you that you have to be locked in. They can be a little bit free as long as they're the right value. And you have to decide which is you're going to go do 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 do, or you're going to go yo do do do. How do you want to shape this? And that's have you made a decision about that? As long as we get the appoggiatura shape, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You know, the question is how do you want to come in on the first note of each figure? Or do you want to grow the first three notes or not? The appoggiatura is an appoggiatura. It's going to be played more or less the same. Do one more time the same. For me now, there's not enough urgency about the swell. Try. So start again. When you come back, it stays pianissimo for quite a good while, and you don't get to forte until the modulation to E flat major. Okay. And he says poco poco diminuendo from piano. Before that, in other words, at the end of the section you previously played, it's a kind of morendo. It really wants to morendo, and then it wants to stay soft as if coming from a distance again. Okay, do one more time. And so when you first play your first figure, don't be too soft, so that you have room to make the gradual morendo, and then see how quietly you can keep this military music again. Okay. Okay, yeah. Play this one more time. Play this one more time. Yeah. Yeah. So down to the end. Okay. Okay. So hold on one second. I'd like you to feel a little bit freer, Lily. Not to feel you have to be quite so measured. Try one more time. And then don't be too big. We want to build that G on the top. Do it one more time. And the first note, I would like to see, I would like to see you move the bow yom fairly quickly on the front of it. It's the idea is that you're trying to compete with all this noise, this military noise that you've had to live with and portray. It's a sudden surge of dolce on that first note. Yeah. Use a lot of breath, and the bow speed is the equivalent of the breath, so we're going to move it suddenly. Yeah. So he's got you. Originally, he's got dots under slurs there. They should be a little lighter. Yeah, would be good. Okay, but let's go on. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, but be careful. Yeah, be careful. Don't be so strong about the front of the down bow. If you're going to use that bow, let that note develop. Because she's going to modulate as you play that note, basically. What's going to happen? And we're going to bring ourselves back to a perception of E flat major. Okay, good. Do again. Yeah, and then you can move. Yeah, so I think this is a funny little bridge to this kind of tune in the middle of the piece. It only lasts for what, about 10 bars. There's actually only one X bar. It's only 9 bars, and it has to sound as though it lasts a long time. And you brought the tempo down, but you have to bring it back on the other side. So when you get to what is the number? 126. It's got to go back to the tempo. Back to the tempo that you started this out at. Okay, so there are really kind of two tempos: one for these middle 9 bars and one for the bookends. Okay, so start again from where you were in the middle section. But don't. But one thing. Yeah, make sure you don't shortchange us. I always say to my students very frequently, singers don't like rests. They famously they love the sound of they love to sing, they love the sound of their own voices. They're not going to cut a note off the way we do. It will drift over into the next bar. So let that happen. You have a lovely sound, enjoy it, keep it going. Don't feel that the rest stops you particularly. Okay? Go ahead. Okay, so the challenge of these last four bars, the challenge of these last four bars is that we are not you're not the first voice, you're actually the second voice, and Kumi has she has and somehow we have to stay below her in some way, through this, and still play very expressively, I'd like to hear again from the middle section where you play. Make sure that Lily, he says he's got for both of you this funny marking sostenuto in bar 124, huh? Somehow he wants that bar a little bit longer than the others, and see if you can keep your sound up. It kind of came down too fast, Lily. Okay, do one more time, and then I'm going to let you play to the end. Actually, you know what? Something play from the middle section. Play now that we've done this. Play the whole middle section and then go to the end of the piece, and then that'll be it. Okay, very good. It's there's a tradition, and I kind of agree with it, of having the 2/4 be the same pulse as the 6/8. So so it's a big kind of a blown up version of the middle section, of course, starting in F major instead of in C major. It's kind of a wonderful idea. Be careful, dum bum bum beam bum bum beam, that you don't push forward the. It's funny with Ram. He loves 3/2, and he uses it all the time in all the piano works, and this famously the Second Piano Concerto, the G minor Rhapsody, etc., etc. Sometimes the threes move forward, but sometimes they broaden out. But in this case, don don ding don don, I think they have to get so regular that they want to usurp the 2/4. I mean the 6/8 rather. So I'd be careful about that. But wonderful to hear you both. Bravo. So enjoyed. Thank you for playing for me. Yeah, so enjoyed. Okay. You got any questions for me?
No, just thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, okay. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay. Great to hear you. Okay.
Relevation, hearing how each piece belongs to a family, to a huge ocean of music. At the same time, each one has got its own micro universe and its own rhythm life. So
Amazing.
that was eye-opening, an eye-opener. So thank you so very much for being so kind. And please, before you go, we
it's
receive.
It's you who is kind. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Receive our very best wishes for your mother's health and well-being. And in general, I hope we meet again and again to share information, to share enthusiasm for music, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much.
I send you my gratitude, my admiration for what you're accomplishing, and I'm very, very happy to be a part of it. Thank you, Annie.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Be well.
Yeah. And here we are, such an eye-opener of music, and we are delighted to enjoy so much musicianship over our many master classes, and looking forward to the next activity, which will be tomorrow's masterclass given by Chihat Ashkin. And I do invite you to join me and everybody at New Virtuosi in listening in Chihat's very wise comments to our players. Be well and see you soon.